China in darkest period for human rights since Tiananmen, says rights group.
Here's a summary of the article.
China is in the midst of its darkest period for human rights since the Tiananmen Square massacre, Human Rights Watch has said in its annual report. This has been the darkest period for human rights in China since the 1989 massacre that ended the Tiananmen Square democracy movement, the report on worldwide human rights abuses said. About 90 people have been arrested under the law since June. Internet censorship, mass surveillance and efforts to sinicize religion also deepened across China, the report said. Prominent critics, human rights defenders and journalists were jailed, disappeared or forced into exile, many accused of inciting subversion, or picking quarrels and provoking trouble, a common charge leveled against dissidents and activists. The 386-page report focused on China in large part because of the international response to worsening repression there. Fewer members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, who in the past have tended to support China, supported Xinjiang policies, and multiple statements of condemnation were produced at the UN. The US passed numerous pieces of legislation targeting China's abuses, while the UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand and the US all tore up extradition treaties with the country over its crackdown on Hong Kong. This growing international willingness to condemn the Chinese government forced it to respond, the report said, and Beijing for the first time gave confirmation of the number of Uyghur and other Turkic Muslims detained in Xinjiang, revealing that 1.3 million people had gone through what it termed vocational training centers. Each UN statement was countered with statements in support of Beijing, which HRW said were typically signed by many of the world's worst human rights abusers, and appeared to involve economic leverage.
This post received a score of 51,000, with an upvote ratio of 88%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Recently I discovered that there are new WeChat restrictions. You can't open a new account unless you know someone in mainland China with an account. It's getting harder and harder for there to be dialogue between China and the rest of the world.
That has been like that for a while. This makes traveling in China especially hard, because you are the only person in a mile who has to pay cash like some kind of caveman. I was in China in 2018 and back then it has already been like that. Paying for things in China was super annoying because places didn't seem to take credit card and if I remember correctly, it was borderline impossible to put money into your WeChat account without a Chinese bank account.
This is true. Some areas of China are incredibly modern. But only for the Chinese. At least to get the full benefit of this modernity. I had a GF there, and without her help setting certain things up, having the convos in Mandarin, etc. I don't know how I would have been able to use half the things I did.
So let's assume I'm on a business trip to China with a corporate Amex. How fucked am I outside the hotel? Edit, thanks for all the replies to a complete theoretical question smiley face.
Not fucked at all. BBUT you would need to use cash mostly I'd say. I honestly can't remember if I was able to use a card from a non-Chinese bank. I know that you could at least use an ATM though. China might be able to help in this regard too. You just won't be able to use WeChat Pay.
ATMs in China, especially Zhongguo Yinxing, will accept cards, and then you withdraw enough cash to live. It's not that hard really, just inconvenient.
There's this trick where dishonest people bad taxi driver can look at your paper money and tell you it's counterfeit, keeping the bill handing you back an actual counterfeit one. Doable anywhere really, but I wouldn't want the police involved in a country where I'm a foreigner, so this makes for a very difficult situation.
That's the oldest scam in the world for stealing tourists' money. Haha, I got scammed like that when I was a teenager. Taught me to never trust strangers with money.
The ad I got in the sidebar was for the live-action Mulan movie. Reddit irony at its finest.
'Cause they can get away with it. Tibet, nothing. Xinjiang, no action. HK, nada.
You forgot Taiwan, coming soon.
Taiwan actually has the means of production to fight though. They produce small arms at the minimum, but I think they also produce or have been gifted jets, tanks, etc.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.